Welcome. In this video we're talking users, groups, and permissions. So the overall objective is to talk about users, groups, understanding object permissions, and we're going to be exploring how to manage those permissions. So first of all, there's two main types of users. We have super users or admins, and we have everyone else, which are standard users. However, there is a root user, and that is essentially the start, the beginning super user. Like, they are the main admin and they can do everything. Normally, how we manage permissions is we group users into some form of logical structure, and then we apply the group to our objects. That is how permission management normally occurs. However, that doesn't always happen. When we're looking at what type of permissions a user can do, they are normally shown as either a number or value, R, W, or X. So for example, if they can read, it's the number 4. If they can write, it's the number 2. If they can execute, it's the number 1. If they can read and write, it's going to be 4 and 2. Keep in mind, the read permission allows them to open and view a file. Write allows them to view and edit a file. And execute a file, it may not be necessary to actually view it or edit it, but they can actually execute a file. So we do need to keep that in mind. So here's an example of different types of permissions. You're going to notice there are 8 types. 0 with no permission, 1 can only execute, 2 can only write, 3 can write and execute, 4 is read only, 5 is read and execute, 6 is read and write, 7 is read, write, and execute. So let's look at that in Kali. So I have a terminal open. I'm going to navigate ls. So I'm going to do an ls tac L so I can see permissions. So here we can see read, write, execute. Read, they don't have the permission to write. So that's how we can slowly start deciphering our permissions. Well, what does this beginning number or beginning letter means? So that's what we're going to be talking about here in just a second. So the assumption is, what happens if we need to change permissions? Well, we can do a chown, and we can do a ownership of a file. We could do that with a chown, the user, space, the file. Or we can do a chown, we can do a recursive, and we can give it the value. So 777, for example, the numbers actually mean something. So there are normally 3 groups when we're dealing with permissions. And you can see that here we have 1 group, 2 group, and we have 3 groups. So the first character doesn't really matter when it comes to our groups. But there are 3. So if we're doing like a chown 777, it's actually setting all 3 groups to full read, write, and execute permissions. So let's go and let's review what it would look like. So the first area is going to be a file type. The second area, that's going to be the first group, is going to be user own permissions, then group permissions, then other permissions. And then we have this number, that's going to be an alternate access method. Then we have a user, then we have a group. Also we have a size, date access or modified, and then the actual name of the location. So let's look at that in Kali. So here we have the file type. D is for directory. Here is the user. Here is the group. Here is the other. Here is the alternate access method. This is the owner. This is the group. And this is the size. Date accessed or date modified. And this is going to be the object itself. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make a So I'm going to make a file on my desktop. So home, Kali desktop, touch. So I'm actually going to go ahead and do an ls stack l. So I have read, write, no executability. So I'm going to go ahead and do a chmod 777 test.txt. I'm going to go ahead and do an ls stack l again, and you can see that I have full access now. Keep in mind that the rule of thumb is you never ever want to grant full access to everyone. So chmod 777 is not a good idea. Normally chmod 755 is more than appropriate for most individuals. And that would look like read, write, execute, because this is going to be the owner. They can do everything. The group can read and execute. They may not be able to write it. And then others can just read and execute. You may want to restrict it so that no one else can do it. And if you do, that'd be a chmod 700 test.txt. That means ls.l that only the owner can read, write, and execute it. All other groups cannot, and others cannot either. So that gives us a basic overview of how to manipulate our file permissions when it comes to our users. If you have any questions, reach out. Thank you.